Okay, hi everyone. So my name's Charlotte Walker. So I work at UTAS in the Future Students team. So my role at the uni is to help everyone with their decision-making process, going from deciding to study through to applying and enrolling. And we're here today to talk about paramedicine. So if you're not here to listen to paramedicine, now might be the time to just duck off. So we'll go through some quick stuff at the beginning, but I am here with the course coordinator for paramedicine, Dave. And so I'll just do a quick bit and then we'll flick over to Dave and he can do what everyone's here to listen to. Alrighty, so we'll just do a quick, as usual, our acknowledgement of country. So we just want to take a moment today to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land across all of the places that we're being joined from today. So here at the University of Tasmania, that is often the Palawa, Pakana people. Respecting Indigenous knowledge and perspectives is something this university is quite committed to and something that you'll see throughout your time studying with us. Alrighty. So today we're going to cover a couple of things. So why we study at the University of Tasmania. We'll touch on paramedicine and the course options within it, and then we'll go through applications and we will have time for a Q&A at the end. So if you have a look here down the bottom of your screen, it should have a Q&A button. So we can address those Q&A as we go as well, either speak to them or type in at the end. At the end of this webinar, everyone is going to have this sent to them. And if there's any questions we can't get to at the time as well, we can do follow-ups tomorrow as well. So we do have to not rush through, but we will need to finish this on time today. We don't want to keep anyone too long tonight, as much as we'd love to talk about paramedicine for hours and hours. We just can't do that. So if we don't get anyone's questions, don't panic. We'll be able to address all of those the next day. And so just touching on, okay, paramedicine is obviously a fantastic course, but why should you study it here at University of Tasmania? One of the things that you'll find at the University of Tasmania is we're an incredibly supportive university. So our role is to help you in all this decision-making process, and we can help you deciding what to study now and your applications and your enrollments and scholarships and all the rest of it. But that support doesn't end when you hit the apply button. That support continues throughout your university experience here at UTAS. So whether that is with people like Dave helping you through the course, or maybe you need some guidance or some support with your accommodation or counselling or whatever the case may be. And that has led to an 82% satisfaction rate from our graduates. So that comes from our student experience survey and the graduate outcome survey. So that's a statistic that we are really proud of. And that compares to an 80% rate nationally. We have strong graduate outcomes as well, with 91% full-time employment for our undergraduate students, which is a fantastic result for the university. And lastly, of course, something we're extra proud of is that we are #1 in the world for climate action. So that is something that we put into every aspect of our work here at the university and something that we are really proud of. I'm going to hand over right now to Dave, who's going to be able to speak on paramedicine and how we offer it here at the University of Tasmania. Take it away, Dave.
Hi everyone, my name is Dave. I'm one of the lecturers here at the Rozelle campus here in Sydney, and been a paramedic for about 10 years now, and I'm actually a graduate of UTAS as well, some 10 years ago. It seems like an age ago, but yes, that's me. So I'm here to talk about the paramedicine program, and I thought I'd start by just talking about the profession in general and where it's at right now. Paramedicine is a wonderful, wonderful industry that seems to be growing every year and changing direction a little bit. It's only this week that New South Wales has just started a pilot program where paramedics are working now in an emergency department setting and working with the teams in the emergency department, and they're gaining some insights to see how paramedics can fit in a bit more of a different workforce separate to ambulance services as well. So the profession is growing. It's a really wonderful time to join the profession as well. This course at UTAS is a wonderful way to start that journey. As our graduates here, they move on to all different places around the world. We have graduates that have been, they've gone to everywhere, the likes of all through the UK, some different spots in Europe as well, around North America, and all around Australia, New Zealand as well. So it's the degree really sets you up for that future in paramedicine as well, which is fantastic. Next slide, please. The types of roles that you may undertake from the paramedicine program, like after you complete your Bachelor of Paramedicine here, there's a whole lot of different ways you can go. That can include everything from the private sector to public sector. Most of our graduates generally seem to be gearing towards the state-based ambulance services in Australia. That'd be like Ambulance Tasmania, New South Wales Ambulance, or Queensland Ambulance Service, etc., etc. So things like that. That's generally where they're geared towards. However, we have a whole group of different graduates heading in different directions, including private ambulance services. Some sit in more the public health space as well, and they move on to other things. Others use it as a stepping stone to get into medicine as well, which is a great way to get some hands-on practical experience and some real tactile learning before you get into something like medicine as well. It's really great to kind of start the career in that way. Next slide, please. So why study here at UTAS as well? As I mentioned before, it's a wonderful way to kickstart your career and set you up for an international career as well, anywhere you really want to go. It's great. The best part, I think, about the degree, that what we offer that other degrees just don't, it's the fast track nature of the UTAS course as well. That 2-year fast track degree means you can get all your study done, your 3 years of study condensed down to 2 years. This does come with a bit of a drawback in that you're doing 3 years work in 2 years, in the sense it's a bit more work than the other degrees, in the sense that you're not getting those breaks, those big long breaks that you would, but that's definitely attractive to a lot of people, particularly those who are wanting to really jump into the workforce sooner rather than later. Upon completion of the degree, you're able to be registered you'll be able to become registered with the national accrediting bodies such as AHPRA or HCPC. So both those accrediting bodies being in Australia or the UK. And that means you can call yourself a paramedic. You're a registered paramedic after you complete this degree as well. And yeah, leveraging as well. So it mentions there as well, hands-on learning from experienced clinicians, industry partners. Most of our faculty are still working as paramedics at the moment across different services in both private industry and public services as well. So everyone still is very much boots on the ground at the moment as well. So next slide, please. A few other things as well. So the cohort that you work with, so the courses that we offer are offered specifically to a few different groups of students as well. So within your workforce, within your cohorts, excuse me, you'll be grouped together in classes with personnel from Australian Defence Force, with personnel working within jurisdictional ambulance services already. That'd be through either their cadetship programs or their existing kind of conversion pathways for those who are registered paramedics but haven't got a degree and want to do their conversion course with us as well. So there's a big range of experience and different people from different industries all working together, even with the undergraduates. So all different perspectives, which is great. The international placements as well. So our placements as well, the placement programs that we offer as well is really great. We've started extending out our offerings beyond your local ambulance services of where you're based. So they'd be either in New South Wales or in Tasmania. We offer also overseas placements as well that take place in Europe, Asia, and North America. Specifically, some of the ones that actually right now we have a group of about 10, 20, I think there's 20 students now who are currently probably about 2,000 meters up high in the sky in the Himalayas somewhere, running health clinics there. It's excellent stuff. And I get too excited, I'll talk about it forever. So I'll move on a little bit more. So also UTAS Paramedicine, this is the only school of paramedicine in Australia, the very first. So all other schools of all other paramedicine programs operate under either nursing or medicine, generally kind of sits in those categories. We're a standalone school representing the profession as a whole and having a little bit more direction over who we are as paramedics and where we go from here as well. Really interesting. Next slide, please. So as well, so the facilities that we have, luckily enough, again, we're very fortunate here at both the Rozelle and Hobart campuses to have really, really cool sim spaces. So we've got these wonderful purpose-built facilities that we've got a little pretend house with different bedrooms, as well as a pretend hospital as well, with about 20 beds in there here in the Sydney campus and down Hobart as well, with lots of speakers and microphones and secret little windows that you can look through and things. It's quite good. So we run our simulations in there, trying to get the most immersive experience for students. So they feel, we try to pressure test a little bit there on campus So when you go out on placement and when you're prepared for the real world and you feel best about that as well. Yeah, which is great. Next slide, please. Another thing, student experience as well. A big part of, I think, if you were asked me personally what makes the UTAS program different to the other programs, it's very much I know it sounds a little bit tacky, but the community spirit that we have, the relationships that you have with the other students as well as with the faculty, it's quite a close relationship that you'll have with those people. We use that, we leverage that, and we build on that every year. Our first year students are always great friends with the second year students, et cetera, it all flows on, which is great. And yeah, from that, a lot of extra experiences happen as well. We keep a great relationship with our local, like the other kind of local, to say other services as well, such as the local ambulance service, the local helicopter medical retrieval services, as well as fire and rescue, sometimes police, SES, like state emergency services, as well as other schools and other groups as well, to kind of see what other extra experiences we can do. We also work together with the School of Medicine to create School of Medicine and nursing to create some cross-disciplinary programs as well. And that's available in both the Hobart campus and the Sydney campus as we partner up with other universities such as Notre Dame University, and we get our med students and paramed students together and we all try to learn together. Basically, it's a lot of fun. And there, as you can see, some of the pictures there of some of those events. So you can see that picture all the way on the left there is, we've got New South Wales ambulance in there. We have some paramed students. We also have some medical students all working in a mass casualty simulation as well, which is great fun. As well as some community events and some visits to the helicopter bases, the ambulance services and the helicopter services. They love to call us and say, do you have a handful of students for us to be actors in simulations or to come and help us with some teaching events? And we've always got some extra opportunities, which is great fun. Next slide, please. We also have here on the very left, we have the lovely Alessia in London completing her clinical placement. In the middle, we have a big crew, including myself. If your eyesight's that good, I'm somewhere in the background. That's again about 2,500 meters up in the sky there in Nepal, in the first time we ran the health clinics there. And on the right, we have the crew there. We have, the wonderful crew who are in the USA. I think that was in Tennessee somewhere, maybe. I'm not sure exactly, but that's where they were, and they're having a great time. That's where they completed their clinical placements as well. Excellent. Yep. Next slide, please. So the placement opportunities. I believe this is out of all the programs in Australia, this is either the most or equal to the most placement hours that you'll get in a paramedicine program. In year one, there'll be 144 hours. In year two, a minimum of 244 hours sessions. So this is quite a lot of clinical placement that you'll get. Great time to put all the things you've learned in action, learning it in context as well. The opportunities for those placements as well. The domestic opportunities for the first one. So you just where you are, where you're studying, that's where you'll complete the placements unless otherwise organized, but generally speaking, that's where you do them. For the second placement, that's where you get to go overseas. If you want to, it's not a requirement. You can still do domestic placements. And for the third, it's another domestic placement as well. This doesn't capture as well the other additional placements that we do throw in as well from time to time. It's not from time to time, every year really. With the aged care placements as well, and other little bits and pieces throughout the course, but I won't give too much away. Next slide, please. So we're getting to the nitty gritty of it now. So how to get into the course. So to get into the course, this is the kind of pathway of how things will work. So you have really three ways of getting into the course. So it's either a direct entry with your ATAR. If you don't have the ATAR to get in, that's okay. We have other options for you. The other option being the Diploma of University Studies. That's for those who just maybe didn't do so well in their final year of school, and that is completely fine. It doesn't mean you're not suited for the career. It doesn't mean you don't have all the brains. We all know things go on. But you have the option of completing a Diploma of University Studies, focusing on paramedicine for that program as well. I'll go into a little detail of that in a second, but that's another pathway. Also, we have another entry as well, those with other studies under their belt, whether it be TAFE study, vocational studies, or an incomplete degree. The Diploma of University Studies is 1 year. Otherwise, you move straight to the Bachelor of Paramedicine, 2 years, and that's where your registration happens. Then you're a paramedic. All right, next slide. I'll get to that, a few other questions in a second. So the Diploma of University Studies, as I said, this is another way of getting into the program should your ATAR not be enough, or it's quite competitive to get into the course sometimes. So this is another pathway in. So this is for students in both Sydney and Hobart. And the course is 8 subjects, 8 units in total. And 4 of those units, 4 of the 8 are university degree level units that count towards the degree. So they're basically some of the first year units that you would be completing in the undergraduate bachelor's program anyway, and you get credited them for them later, and you can move through a bit quicker, which is great. Beautiful. It also includes some units that help to give you the skills to succeed at university. That's in numeracy, scientific literacy, academic writing, and all those bits and pieces as well. So very exciting stuff. All right, next slide, please. So entry requirements for the Diploma of University Studies, basically, have you completed your secondary school stuff? Have you completed your year 12? Do you have an ATAR at all? That's all we need really. And then that's enough to start from there. Otherwise, life experience that, put it through in your case, and they're taken as a case-by-case basis. There is a quota for that as well. I'm not sure the exact numbers every year, but there are quotas to those courses. So generally competitive, but less competitive than the bachelor's degree. Next slide, please. So the bachelor, so this is the direct entry into the bachelor's program, or you can articulate after the Diploma of University Studies as well. So this is the degree. This is a paramedicine degree as well. So its location is based in Hobart and Sydney, combination of both online and face-to-face units as well. It's a bit of a combination with that. It involves placements, learning, simulated learning as well. So there is a fair bit of practical, there's a fair bit of practical requirements for this course, as well as all the other scientific units as well. So as it is Commonwealth supported as well, yes, and the quotas for this course, it generally can be quite competitive. It can be quite competitive. So if you are still finishing your studies or doing anything now, keep working hard. But yes, we'll put some questions there. I'll answer a few more questions in a moment, but that's the basics of the Bachelor of Paramedicine 2-year course, a total of a 2-year course, completing fair few science units, lots of paramedicine theory, lots of paramedicine practice, and a few of the extra units as well around cultural competencies, legal issues as well. That kind of bolts that. Next slide, please. I think this will answer quite a few of the questions in the chat right now. So the entry requirements for the Bachelor of Paramedicine, the ATAR minimum, absolute minimum is 75, and the lowest ATAR does change. Effectively though, I'm not saying not to, definitely just try to apply it at the end of the day. Anything above 75 should be fine. But because of the competitive nature of the course, I think the lowest ATAR that we gave an offer to last year was in the low 80s and high 70s as well. So the effective ATAR may be a little bit higher than that. So as I said, that's the ranking system that's worked as well. Beautiful. And next slide, please. So this is a question, ordinarily, I would put this out to the crowd and ask what they think, what you all think, what will make you suitable to be a paramedic. And at the end of the day, I think it comes down to a few things. Noting that the degree is, this is the degree. And despite I'm not sure what your background is in knowledge of the profession, it's very much an academic profession. You need to be engaged with and excited by science. It's very much a science degree. You're focusing nearly, there is nearly a minor or a major in bioscience units for this. And that's what underpins all the practice. With that science though, is the problem solving. So paramedicine is all about the problem solving too. The whole nature of the profession is very much around approaching very undifferentiated, unclear, ambiguous problems and trying to make sense of that in the context of the bioscience, the context of emerging and unclear scientific evidence, and varying and very dynamic resources and environments as well in the context of that, making sense of that, which is, if you're excited by that, then this is this job for you. It's not so much the lights and sirens and emergencies. The job itself and the degree itself is very much about problem solving, whether that be for someone who is very ill or not very ill at all. The scope of what paramedics do, it's very small amount of emergency work and a lot of more primary care and basic care and community care in that way as well. So if it's all the lights and sirens you're after, maybe this isn't what's for you. Maybe it might be something else that would be better suited. But if you're looking to kind of solve tough health problems, however they come, then this is the right place. Go next slide, please. Oh, good.
Okay, and this one jumps back to me. I'm going to speak to this one. So there have been questions coming in thick and fast, which Narelle and Amelia have been answering in the Q&A, which is fantastic. And I think it's a really good example of some of the support that we offer here at UTAS is that it's just ongoing throughout your degree. So Amelia, myself, and Narelle can support all of you through your decision-making process, but then students continue to need support once they're at university. One of the things that we offer is peer-assisted study sessions, or PASS. So Dave's already touched on the fact that there's a great relationship between the first and second year students in the degree. PASS sessions are actually run by high-achieving students in their second or third year, who are then running optional workshops for first-year students. So you have that experience being passed down not only from the academics and the lecturers, but from your peers within the course as well, which is a really fantastic learning opportunity. And it's been proven that students who attend those sessions achieve better than in units where they don't attend those sessions. So they're a really fantastic resource that we offer across the university. We also have student advisors who can help you if something is going wrong with your learning plan or your timetable or whatever the case may be. We have staff who are every day in the library to help with all sorts of questions, whether it be fees, enrollment, timetables, whatever the case may be. And you also have access to a 24-hour study support system, which students can utilize online through our learning platforms. We also have career guidance for all students, so whether that be in assisting finding jobs on campus or casual jobs, but maybe guidance through to your eventual plans upon graduation as well. And all students have access to counselling and wellbeing services here at the university. That may be because you've got a lot going on and you need some support, whether that be like mental health support, but it also might be that you find that you're getting a bit overwhelmed and you're starting to procrastinate and you need to have someone help you guide you through the rest of the semester. So that's really, really beneficial support services that are on offer that I would say don't get utilised enough. So if there's one thing that I would say, if anyone here study at the University of Tasmania, utilise all the support you can have, because that's what we have it here for. And then cost is a big question that a lot of students have, whether it be now or later on, and there is lots of support to help you with the cost. So first up, the Bachelor is Commonwealth supported place, which means that you do have subsidised fees, and then the remaining cost can either be paid upfront or put on a HEX loan for Australian citizens who can do that as well. So I've got a note here about, so a equivalent full-time study load in the Bachelor of Paramedicine falls under the Allied Health Cluster, which equals $8,948 per year. Now, I will say that you still have to times that by 3, even though you're doing an accelerated program, because you're doing the equivalent of 3 years of study across 2 years. So you're doing 3 trimesters instead of 2 semesters. So I'll just leave that caveat there, because I know that does confuse a lot of people coming through the accelerated programs. But there's an exact cost basically for every unit that you study. So you can work out your exact cost by looking at those individual units that you do. And we also pay the student services and amenities fee, which is again per unit with a maximum of $351 per year if you're full-time, or $263.25 if you are part-time. So that is, again, you can pay that front and put it on your HEX. And there's also lots of scholarships available, too many scholarships for us to pay sometimes. So if you are looking at coming to study, one of the things we definitely recommend is applying for scholarships, whether that be because you have to relocate, or maybe you want to live in student accommodation, or maybe it is because you come from a remote area, or there are about 200 scholarships in total across the university. So there's usually something for everyone. And the broadest ones that we have are the study to assist scholarships. So once you submit your application to study, we highly recommend you then go along and do your scholarships application as well. It's generally 5 questions that you'll answer, and then you can quick apply for a lot of them. And then if it's a higher paying scholarship or if it's run by an external body, you may have to answer 1 or 2 more questions, but it's relatively easier to do and easier than it's ever been in the past as well. So it's something we really recommend all applicants jump on and do to help with the cost, because we know that the cost is something that is really important to a lot of people, no matter what you're studying. And applying online is easy. So that is what me and my team are here to do. So all applications are submitted online, whether you're applying to study in Hobart or Sydney, all applications are done directly through us on our website. There's red apply buttons everywhere you look. So you just jump online, register for the portal and apply. If you are a current Year 12 student, offers go out in mid-December. That's when ATARs are received. So there's not actually too long before those start to go out, and they're progressively offered basically through until the course begins. For those who are coming through the Diploma of University Studies or a TAFE pathway or previous university study pathway, so those entry requirements, offers might fall outside of that December period, but again, where they're just progressively offered. So you just have to, wait. You'll get a notification in your email if you've been offered a place. Places are highly competitive, so the offering process can take a little bit longer while we assess and rank all applicants. So it is a bit of the name of the game, but it's very easy to apply. That part of the process is very easy. And for those of you who do receive an offer, especially if you are in Year 12, but really anyone can come along, and based in Tasmania, you can come along to our Know Your Options session, which is basically a full day of enrolment support, and will help you go through your entire first year enrolment in one go in person. So we've got the dates here for 18th of December in Launceston, 19th of December in Hobart, or the 20th of December on the Cradle Coast. Okay, it's definitely well worth coming along to those ones. Now for the Q&As, did you want to talk to these ones, Dave?
Yeah, I can have a chat with about those ones as well. But I'm noticing a lot of questions in the Q&A that I've just seen there as well, just to probably help out Amelia.
Yeah, there's a lot.
Regarding the entry requirements, it's not only an ATAR that you need. Also, if you have a completed bachelor's or an incomplete bachelor's with 4 complete university level subjects, that's also meets the minimum entry requirement criteria, and then you're ranked based on a competitive nature based on your results and application in general as well.
Yeah, and I would add to that we'll assess you on your highest level of study. So if you've completed Year 12 but then also done university study, that's what we're going to be looking at. So you can put all of your qualifications and study into your application, but really we're going to looking at either the highest or the most relevant, which could be that completed diploma.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, awesome. So that should answer a few of the questions in there. And yes, so some of the questions that we have had in the past, we've got up here as well for you to look at. So can you study full time? The short answer is no, not for the standard pathway. But if you are one of those students looking to enroll in the conversion pathways, and the conversion pathways mean that you're already a registered paramedic. So you're a registered paramedic, but you haven't completed your studies yet, your degree, and you want to do a degree, then you can study part-time. If not, and you're going the standard entry, it's just a full-time degree, unfortunately. Does the Diploma of University Studies offer guaranteed pathway? It does not offer guaranteed pathway into the Bachelor of Paramedicine. However, there is a sub-quota for those students as well, and they're ranked based on those results in a competitive way. So yes, it's usually what we found is it's a great way for students to get in. You've already completed half those units too, which is great. Another question here, do I need a driver's license? The answer is no, you do not need a driver's license. At no point in the degree will we be doing anything at all to do with driving. That is something that will be between you and your employer. Whether or not your employer has driving as a part of their job, that's another thing that's post your graduation that is dealt with outside of us as well. So we're not doing any driving courses or anything like that. One thing to consider is if you have any serious criminal convictions, existing serious criminal convictions that have resulted in jail time, that may affect your ability to be ready to undertake your placements but that's the only thing to really think about. If you have specific questions about that, please don't put them in the chat right now because they're a bit live, but feel free to contact us directly as well, and we can see whether or not those will be limitations. What we find is most students get a little bit anxious about small infringements, and they don't seem to be a lingering problem at all. That's all. Is the course accredited? Yes, we're accredited with ARPA and leads for accreditation with HCPC as well. And next slide, please. Do you have to do clinical placement? This is a question we get a fair bit as well. Do you have to do clinical placement regardless of your background? You need to complete a clinical placement. The only exception are those who are completing a conversion degree. But for everyone else in the standard degree, you need to complete clinical placement. And with that, it kind of links into what I was saying. So that criminal conviction as well, for those serious offences that would affect your ability to be around patients, those ones, as well as maybe any physical limitations that you have would impact your ability to complete clinical placements. I suggest you get in contact with us and discuss that directly as well, should you have any queries with that, but you need to complete them as well. I think I've already mentioned where the placements are quite clearly. I think we're happy with that one.
Yeah.
Beautiful. And when you graduate as well, yeah, you can go anywhere. Where the degree that we teach, the content that we teach isn't specific to any one ambulance. So we're not a training program for Ambulance Tasmania or New South Wales Ambulance or anything like that. We teach paramedicine as a profession, and you're able to integrate the local guidelines in your practice wherever you go as well, which is great. Beautiful. Let's seen a question there as well. Let's have a little look at some of the questions in the. Maybe we'll take a few live. What do you reckon?
Ooh,
Let's
go
take
for
a
it.
few live. Let's do it.
Go rogue.
So, all right. Studies of nursing also learnt in paramedicine. The answer to that one is no. Or the short answer is no. There are some principles that are followed across other disciplines as well. Some of the subjects that we're talking about will be legal studies and pharmacology that's taught, and some of the bioscience units are taught across both, all the way from physiotherapy, pharmacy, School of Paramedicine here, where it's taught into medicine, it's taught into nursing as well. Very similar programs, but nearly all of our subjects, even when it's the same subjects, we adapt them for paramedicine students as well. So we often run them in different sessions to the other schools as well and adapt them. So even the bioscience team here that we work quite closely with, they adapt all the content and make it relevant to you as a paramedic, which is great. So no, you're not studying any nursing. It's all specific on paramedicine as a distinct profession. Yeah, sorry.
One thing I might say as well, so students or people might be wanting to apply but unsure if they're going to get an offer. One thing that we do is we always recommend that you apply even if you're unsure what the result will be. If we can see from your application that you're clearly not going to get an offer, what we will do is provide an alternate offer, and generally that is going to be the Diploma of University Studies for that pathway for you. So when you hear back from us, it'll be a clear answer. You're either got an offer to paramedics or you're going to get an offer to the pathway. So if you're unsure whether or not you should apply, the best thing to do is to apply, because we can't assess you without an application.
Another question here, is there a minimum ATAR for the Diploma of University Studies? The answer to that is no, there's not a minimum ATAR, as long as you completed it. That's the main thing. Just complete it and we're good. So that's it. So no minimum needed for the Diploma of University Studies.
I was wondering if we can speak to, I guess, what a weekly program of study would look like.
Excellent. Yeah, great one. So yes, I did see that question. Like, are students on campus 5 days a week?
Yeah.
The answer to that is no, definitely not. We understand you all have lives, and we will get into real strife if we did that. I will say the study load is not light. There's a fair bit of study will take up a lot of your time. So we generally say during the weeks of study, during the weeks of semester, which is 12-week semester or trimester, health study period, goes by a few different names. But basically, for the time you're at university, for those 12 weeks, you should be devoting approximately 10 hours of study per unit per week. It's quite a bit, yeah? What we find as students, it may not be 10 equally. Some weeks it's 5, some weeks it's 15, and it kind of ebbs and flows depending on the semester, on the time of the semester that it is. Broadly speaking, this will be a hybrid of both online, face-to-face, and independent learning throughout the week as well. Generally speaking, students are on campus anywhere between 1 and 3 days a week. Generally speaking, that may change based on timetabling though. It does shift around. So we try to make sure, like our timetabling team as well, we try to make sure that they find a great balance between managing your personal lives, managing your own finances and work, as well as keeping up with your studies. We try to balance it out. But generally speaking, there is a significant amount of time, at least 2 or 3 days on campus a week. Are there any other questions there in the chat that you'd like us to look at? Amelia, Norel, Charlotte?
I'm just having a quick squeeze through them now.
We're getting a lot in relation to our application assessment turnaround times. So just perhaps, I'm not sure if you're aware, Dave, how our admissions team work, but just reiterating that we don't have any set turnaround time, and completely understand a lot of you may have applied right back from the 1st of July when applications first opened. First round offers application period closed on the 30th of September or 28th of September, I believe it was, meaning that we are very close to potentially seeing our first round offers go out, but nothing yet confirmed. And then on previous intakes, we've then seen subsequent offer rounds roll out there every 3 to 4 weeks thereafter, just based on how many people are responding to those previous offer rounds.
Yeah, and one thing to add there is with these quota courses, generally you will have a time frame in which you have to accept the offer. So your offer letter will state that you have to accept it by a specific date, and if you don't, then that offer's gone and it goes to someone else. So read your offer letters carefully if you do get an offer.
And you definitely will hear from us either way if you've been successful or not. So don't think that not having heard anything means you've necessarily been unsuccessful. In fact, it's probably a good sign, as it means that you have been classed as eligible for an offer. It's just a matter of seeing where your application particularly ranks, and that the cohort isn't quite filled yet. So you are still in with an opportunity for an offer.
I've got a question here. David,
Yes.
do you need to have a good memory to remember all the information? I can't speak to that one, so.
Good memory, I would say. It depends what we're talking about with good memory, but basically, I would say that what you will need are solid study skills that you either need to have or develop nice and quickly. You need to have some level of retention as well, 100%. You need to retain a fair bit of information and being able. But it's not just recall and memory. What we're looking for is that next step. Like I said, so as I said before, so we've got our study skills to learn and take in information. You need to have some level of recall, but we need this next level. It's all about the problem solving and critical thinking on this side too. And that requires you to have some information to recall in your brain in the first place as well. So yes, I would say the answer to that is you need a decent memory. Yep.
Great, thank you.
There's a question there that I might answer as well. What happens if you miss some courses due to family commitments as well? So we understand people have family commitments and we definitely apply for special considerations and things like that. The only thing to note is that if you have any significant delays in significant issues causing things, it may delay your progression throughout the degree by about a year or so. That's all. Some big things that pop up that cause you to not be able to complete some of the prerequisites because it's quite a defined journey. If you miss some of the prerequisites, you may just delay your graduation for 1 year as well, if that's clear. But yes, of course, if you have things going on, you're like, we're not going to, that's completely fine and we'll move you through the course as it goes.
Perfect. Another question that is quite common in this area is, can I defer my course if you wish to keep a gap year? Now, I will say for most of the health courses, including paramedicine, they cannot be deferred. So if you've already booked your flights to Europe, maybe apply next year during your gap year, and you'll be considered for that during that cohort. But if you're undecided whether you want to take a gap year, our recommendation would be apply. And then if you get an offer, that's going to be what helps you decide whether to take your gap year or not. The places are just too small and it's just too competitive for entry for us to be able to defer offers, because that would just delay you to next year's cohort. It's just not possible, unfortunately.
Excellent. Oh, another question here. I like this one. What are the assessments in this course? So there's a big range, big range of assessments for this course. It can go everything from your standard academic essay, so written assignments anywhere from 1,000 words up to about 3,000 word essays as well. Those bigger pieces will be that big. There are presentations, group discussions, and also individual question and answer times like viva voces as well, where you talk through clinical things with an assessor. There are clinical skills assessments, as well as what we call OSCEs as well, which are basically scenarios that you're assessed on. So your approach to a scenario, whether that be a simulation with an actor, or we have some mannequins there to be assessed on as well. So a big range as well. Like you've got exams, online quizzes. However we can assess, we'll probably assess you that way, really, is what we're saying. So however it comes, we'll do it that way. Yeah. Excellent.
There's a lot of few people asking about how big the cohort size is. I think
Yeah.
I'm correct in saying that it does change from year to year.
Yeah. So the cohort's an interesting one, yeah, because our cohort seems to be expanding bit by bit every year, but in different ways. So for the undergraduate programs, I'll start to section it off a little bit for you. So we have approximately close to anywhere between 100 and 200 students who are in the New South Wales ambulance post-employment pathway. That's kind of like the cadetship program that I just touched on earlier. You won't be part of that group, but they sometimes feed into some of the classes, but they're based predominantly online. You also have a small group of students, up to 30, that are in the Navy at the moment, completing their higher skill level upskilling within their medical training in the Navy. And there's about 30, and again, they pop in a little bit sometimes with some units during your time here, if you're here in Sydney. We also have approximately, I believe, anywhere between 50 and 100 students in the DUS pathway. That's the Diploma of University Studies in both Hobart, also all through Tasmania, really through and Sydney as well. So approximately 50 to 100 there as well. Within our undergraduate direct entry, Bachelor of Paramedicine, standard entry students as well. That's what you're looking for the whole time. In Hobart, for the Hobart campus, we have up to about 100 students there, up to approximately that, anywhere between 50 and 100. And in the Sydney campus, it's around that 100 to 150 mark as well, thereabouts. But it does depend, it does fluctuate a little bit, but roughly that's what we're looking at. We try to keep our cohort sizes relatively small so that we can still deliver that, kind of, like I said before, that little bit more of a tighter, we have a tighter group, and we can deliver that more personalized education as well, is what we kind of push for. Also, the makeup of that cohort in both the Hobart and New South Wales campuses are a mix between school leavers, those who have completed prior studies, and mature age students as well. So we try to get a really great mix across the board to get a diverse cohort from diverse backgrounds, so that kind of lifts the quality of everyone there too.
And there's a couple of people asking similar questions, so I'm just going to mass address those. Whether if there's anything else you can do to bump up your application, let's say. So whether you've got a leadership role or volunteering or awards that you've got during school or whatever the case may be, essentially the entry requirements are just going to be the ranking of the UTAS or the GPA, which is a grade point average across study that you've done at university. So meeting that minimum entry requirement. You are welcome to add additional information into your application. You might wish to upload some sort of supporting statement or a resume or anything like that. We're definitely not going to say don't do that. You are welcome to do that, but there's no guarantee that that's going to influence the decision in the end. It can't hurt because it's not going to hurt the application at all. So if you want to do anything that you feel you can do to support that application, please go ahead. But I can't speak for whether it will affect it, unfortunately, but it's worth a try. That's for sure.
Nice. Another question about placements. This is a really great question here. So wondering how long the placement periods are and if they require time off from a part-time job. Really great question. So the placement periods generally are around 4 weeks at a time. They occur at the end of the year, around December or January, depending on when it is. So you do 2 placements during that time. So one in 1 year, one in the next year. There's also a placement which occurs in October. September, October, there's 1 placement there. So altogether 3, 1 in October, 1 in December, and 1 in the following January. So that's how it kind of works, roughly. With that, it is basically more often than not, your roster cycle for that placement will mirror that of a full-time paramedic, working. So that will be basically effectively you're working a full-time, you're undertaking placement on a full-time basis. For that time, it's incredibly difficult to keep up work. So not noting that it's quite hard. Some students do it. Generally speaking, it's 4 days of work and you get 5 days off, but they're 12-hour shifts. So they're quite burdensome. So you might need a bit of time off in between that. Secondly, your studies still continue during that time. Placement in a fast track degree, it's a bit of work. I'm not gonna beat around the bush on that one. So it's hard to keep up part-time work. Generally speaking, what we found is that most students get around it with we give you plenty of notice for these periods. So most students have been fine with by letting their employers know. It's also worth noting that the placements that you undertake may not be close to home. So New South Wales, the placements are completed with either New South Wales Ambulance, generally speaking, or Ambulance Tasmania. New South Wales is a very big place. So is Tasmania to some extent. Yeah, so it's still big. It's still very big. In both those places. So you may end up stationed at an ambulance station not close to home. There's a likelihood if you're in New South Wales that you will be undertaking clinical placements in a rural setting, some outside of Sydney at some point. So it's worthwhile noting that you need to spend time away. So whatever life you have on there, like whether you have children, whether you have commitments, carer requirements, or anything like that, forward planning is very important for that as well. That would be quite similar for, I would say as well, just for your information, that aspect's not unique to UTAS, no matter which course you pick across Australia. Generally speaking, the clinical placements are with the ambulance service within the state that university operates. So for us, New South Wales and Tasmania, they'll place you anywhere within the state, usually as well. We do our very best, but that's really what we're limited by.
And a couple of questions on transferring and credit and things like that. So credit's assessed on a case-by-case basis. So you have to apply for your course and get an offer, and then you can apply for credit. But I will stipulate that it would have to be a like for like, and there is a maximum amount you can get, which I'm going to assume is quite small. Being a registered accredited course, there's quite strict rules because you have to meet the requirements for that course. And that's also one of the reasons why there's no flexibility with like part-time versus full-time study. Does that sound about right to you?
Correct. So 8 units, if you have a completed degree, a maximum of 8 units of study. If you have an incomplete degree, that number changes and gets a little bit bigger as well. But yeah, that's how we.
But it has to be, and you can't get credit for having done zoology and history. It needs to be like for like. Yeah.
And that kind of answers the question. There are no electives in this course. This is a structured course all the way through. That's why you can't just pick and choose your subjects there as well.
And the same rules apply for nursing. Yeah. Anyone who's going to both webinars, preempt that question there. I will say that we are running out of time, and there's still a lot of questions coming through the Q&A, and we are still answering those as fast as we can.
I could do a quick little rapid fire if you like, Charlie. I'll go through a few.
Well, anything that we do miss, we're going to get all of these questions and then be able to respond via email, and you can then continue that conversation via email. But let's finish off with a rapid fire. That sounds great.
Excellent. Sorry, is Thailand an option to visit in the second year? That is, it currently not offered by us, but you're able to kind of look into personally organised placements as well. It's quite a bit of work to organise your own, but no, currently no. Are there placements in the first year? Correct. Yes, there are. There is one placement at the end of the first year. You complete it just after you finish all your foundational studies. It's awesome. Do you need to take care of your own accommodation when doing placement? Yes. The answer is unfortunately yes. It's all at the student's expense. There are options for some support and funding as well through the university. And I suggest you get in touch with the team to see how much and what is available. It depends on where you go and what your circumstances are though. Do you get paid for placements? The answer is no. You do not get paid for placements. In paramedicine, you're the third on an ambulance. They're not paying you. If anything, they're doing us a wonderful favor by having you out there as well. Do you go on placement by yourself or with other students? You go by yourself with the crew there. You may run into quite a few other your peers as well while you're out there, which is great. Textbooks available for units. The textbooks are specific to each unit of study that you complete. So the textbooks will be available when each individual unit opens up, which is about 2 weeks before the commencement of every study period. And then they'll tell you everything you need to read or buy. But most of our books as well, we understand the costs associated with all of it. We try to make them all available for free online in the first place. Beautiful. I think
I feel like I've got a good question to finish up on.
okay.
What's the best part and most challenging part of being a paramedic?
Oh, what a question.
Let's end there.
Great question. Best and most challenging. This is hugely subjective. I like the fact that it's and I think the best part is also the most challenging. It's different every day. You're dealing with real people with real problems, and you're in a position to kind of acknowledge and nurture that vulnerability that they have and maybe make their day a little bit better, which is an absolute privilege to have the knowledge and skills behind you to be able to do that. And that one represents probably the biggest challenge with the job because it's really hard to do because you've got to keep on top of everything. But secondly, it is also the payoff is fantastic. And as I said, I've been doing this for over 10 years now, and I still love getting in an ambulance and working. It's fantastic. Best job ever. So yes, that's very short. That's a slice.
Nicely done.
So much more, but that's where I'll stop. Yeah.
Beautiful. Okay. Well, I mean, in total, we've had over 110 questions already come through. Some we've been able to answer, some are still open, but that is okay because we will follow up with these I would say in the next couple of days. We'll be able to get all of those in and then send all the responses out. So thank you so much for everyone who came along. I hope we were able to answer most of everyone's questions and build some excitement for paramedicine. It is certainly one of the courses that we are very proud of here at UTAS. Thank you for Dave coming to speak to us today, and for Amelia and Narelle and Bron, who was in the comments, rapid firing, answering all those Q&As.
Thanks, everyone. It's nice to meet you all virtually, some of you on the side, and hopefully see you starting next year.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.